Okay, Rams, here is our video for order of operations. And the very first thing that I want to point out is that we do not use this word, okay? And I'm going to explain that in just a second why. But I kind of make a big deal about it every year and say that word is off limits, okay? And I'm going to go through a little bit more of that in just a minute. But before we do, let's fill out some of our flowchart for order of operations. And basically what order of operations means is that any time that there's more than one operation or more than one step in a problem, it tells you the order that you do them in, okay? So the very first box here, we're going to write the word grouping. Okay, and it can be parentheses. It can be brackets. They work just like parentheses. Okay, there's a couple different ways that grouping can be done. Okay, then we have our exponents. Okay, I put a little 2 there, like squared. That's our exponents. So after we take care of our grouping, we can move over to our exponents in the problem. Okay, then we go over here to multiply and divide. And I'm going to write the words left to right. We have to work left to right here, but we're going to say multiply. Now, there are more than a couple of ways to show multiplication. Okay, we could say 2 times 5. We could say 2 with a dot and a 5. That means multiplication. But also, if I have a number smushed up against the parentheses, that also means that they are multiplied. That means that 2 is multiplied by whatever is inside there, okay? Now, division, the same thing. It can be written a couple of different ways. This box is division, okay? 6 divided by 2. Okay, it could also say 6/2. There was one like that on your homework last night. Or it could say 6 in the house here and 2 on the outside. All of these say 6 divided by 2. Now, let's talk about the reason that I don't use that word up here. Because that word implies that multiplication always comes before division. That was parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, and subtract. Or with a G there for grouping. That part is not the problem. It's this part over here that makes it confusing and misleading. So it's not always multiply before divide. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Make sure you're listening. It is not always multiply before divide. Okay, this is so very important. It's left to right. So if division is on the left, it goes first. Okay? Now over here, same with addition and subtraction. There's not as many ways to show addition, just 4 plus 2. Okay? And subtraction. 9 minus 7 is still just 9 minus 7. There's only one way to write that. But again, we go left to right. Okay, so when I mentioned your elementary teachers were not completely honest with you, well, maybe the problems they gave you all had multiplying on the left or adding on the left, but that's not always the case, all right? So I'm going to zoom out a bit. When we see a problem, we do all of our grouping. We do all of our exponents. Then we do all of our multiplication and division for the whole problem, left to right. And then I move on over here and do all of our adding and subtracting left to right. Okay, so I'm going to show a few problems here. Okay, I'm going to leave this on here. I'm going to walk through this one. I can't zoom out much farther. But in this problem, I'm going to model what it would look like. We have our parentheses. We have parentheses in this problem. So I underline the first step. Okay, now we never ever have an equal sign in our problem. I always just want to say, here is my expression right up there on top. What is the first step that I would do? Well, I have division, I have parentheses with addition, or I have multiplication. Well, I'm going to go with the addition because it's in parentheses. So I underline the step that I'm going to do, and I simplify it. The only thing that I changed from this expression to this one is that 6 plus 10 becomes 16. Okay, and that becomes my 16, and then I rewrite everything else. Now I have 32 divided by 16 times 7. Well, those parentheses are there, but they don't mean anything anymore because there's nothing inside to simplify, and there's nothing smushed up against them. So it's the same as them not being there. 32 divided by 16 times 7. Well, I have division and I have multiplication. Now, my rule here says when I have multiplication and division, I have to go left to right. So on the left is division. 32 divided by 16 is 2. So the only thing that I change from this expression to this one is that I change this mark and make it a 2. And then I bring down everything left over, bring down the times 7. Now all I have left is 2 times 7, and that's 14. And I circle the answer at the bottom. It looks like a big ice cream cone or a piece of pizza, but every row is equivalent to every other row. It's just simplified a little. So no equal signs, okay? Your rules here, for each expression, just underline the one step that you're going to simplify. Okay, then you're going to rewrite the equivalent expression on the next line and continue until there's nothing left to simplify. Okay, now this problem we're going to work out together. Okay, oh, this one has a lot of steps. I see brackets and I see parentheses. I see adding, multiplying, subtracting, and another multiplying here. Okay, but this is no different than a 5th grade level problem. Okay, so I see parentheses inside my brackets. That means that I have to do these first. I do what's on the inside and I work my way out. So let's pretend that this is all I have of my problem here. 5 plus 3 times 8. So what is my first step within those? I would have to do multiplying before I do adding. So I'm going to do this. 3 times 8 is 24. So I have 5 plus 24, and I'm going to rewrite everything else exactly as it is above there. Okay? The only thing that changed from this row to this row is that 3 times 8 became 24. Okay? So now I still see parentheses, and they're inside these brackets, so I have to work from the inside out when I have multiple groupings. So 5 plus 24 is 29. Okay, that's the only thing that changed in this whole problem, so I'm going to bring everything else down just like that. The plus sign goes here, the 4 goes right there, my bracket and my 2, my minus and my 6. Okay, right here, it doesn't matter anymore if I drop those parentheses because there's nothing left in them. So I have 2 times the answer to all of this, 4 plus 29 minus 6. So my brackets, I still have to do grouping again. But inside the grouping, I have to follow my order of operations. So I have to do all of this in here. Now, all I have is adding and subtracting. So my rule says I go left to right. 4 times 29 is 33. Minus 6, I bring that down and multiply it by 2. So now I have one more thing inside my grouping left. 33 minus 6, that's going to be 27. Okay, and I have my bracket there. And my 2 is smushed up against it here. That means I multiply 2 by whatever is in there. Now that I've simplified it as far as I can multiply 2 times 27. I underline my step. And it is 54. And that is my answer. Notice it still looks like my little ice cream cone here. No equal sign anywhere. Okay, this one right here. This line means that everything on top is simplified and then divided by everything on the bottom. Okay, so if I look at what's on top here, 5 times 4 is 20 plus 16 over 2 to the second power. Okay, I did my parentheses. Now I have exponents. So what exponent do I have? This one. I'm going to circle it here because that's that line might get confusing, okay? So 2 to the second power would mean there are 2 2's that I'm multiplying. So that's 4. So 20 plus 16 divided by 4. Okay, now, even though it looks like I would do division next, having something across the whole top row is kind of like it being grouped together. Okay, that would mean that everything on top, I have to simplify that as far as I can before I can divide by 4. Okay, so 20 plus 16 then is going to be 36 divided by 4. And 36 divided by 4 is going to be 9. I ran out of room there, sorry. Okay, so another type of grouping is when you have one number or a big expression on top of a fraction, because that's another way of grouping it. You have to solve all of that first.